Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me this week. So this week I'm going to be talking about the inquiry process continuum. There's always a lot of chatter about do we use direct instruction or do we use inquiry-based learning? And of course we know that that's a false dichotomy, and I've talked at length about how it's a dance between direct instruction and inquiry in a lesson. But I thought, let me just reiterate some of the important elements of the inquiry process continuum. So let's go. Okay, let's start off with that false dichotomy narrative that's out there. So there are two camps that I've heard, and one camp in terms of pedagogical style is that we focus on facts and skills and rote memorization. And then the other camp is we focus on big ideas and conceptual understandings. And actually, we know as teachers that this is not a binary situation. We actually need facts and skills and conceptual understandings, and they go hand in hand, just like in this diagram. So we have to be able to know and do in order to understand. And how do we create that synergy, that relationship between the facts and skills and conceptual understandings? That's where we use the inquiry process continuum. Inquiry helps us connect those low levels of what we know and do to the higher order thinking of understanding, in particular, conceptual understanding. And I just want to share with you that, our ultimate goal is to develop intellect. So, to develop intellect and to increase motivation for learning, curriculum and instruction must create a synergy between the lower factual and higher conceptual levels of thinking. And this is achieved through the inquiry process continuum. So, what does actually inquiry look like in a classroom? So, here I've got what the inquiry process continuum looks like. So you can see here that we have direct instruction, which is completely teacher directed, and we have at the other end student directed open inquiry. And sometimes a misconception about inquiry-based learning is that we have to always adopt open inquiry. And that's actually just one form of inquiry, and it's not always the ultimate goal to have open inquiry. Within a lesson, we could be going back and forth along this continuum. So let's say we start off with some direct instruction that students need some lectures or mini lessons. We transmit some knowledge and skills, the low level rote memorization kind of style. And then we might move into structured inquiry where there's predictable outcomes and predictable pathways. Or the next level is predictable outcomes and unpredictable pathways through guided inquiry. And open inquiry is when there's completely unpredictable outcomes and unpredictable pathways. Now, we can also start with open inquiry. So let's say that we ask our students to generate lots of questions about a particular topic or a prompt or a visual or some kind of provocation that you share. We could then within the lesson be moving to guided, structured, or direct instruction within the lesson, because maybe in order for students to complete that open inquiry, they're going to need some direct instruction or structured inquiry to help them complete that open inquiry. And an open inquiry example could be the personal project or the personal exploration. And, we could be moving along this continuum even within a lesson. So that's the inquiry process continuum. And then I just wanted to share with you my thoughts about what is inquiry-based learning. So I kind of summarized down into 6 points what I think inquiry-based learning is. We start in the bottom left. It's about posing lots of different types of questions to our students, but it's also about students generating their own questions. It's about utilizing knowledge mobility, that we don't have to be the source of all knowledge and the sage on the stage, but that knowledge can be mobile in the classroom, and that our students can be sharing knowledge amongst themselves and helping each other. I always like to use the analogy that students open their own presence in an inquiry-based learning environment. It's because we want to encourage students to arrive at their own conceptual understandings through careful lesson design and careful scaffolding if they need it. So whether it's direct instruction, structured inquiry, it's guided inquiry, or open inquiry, we still want students to arrive at their own understandings. And I like to use the analogy of them opening their own presence. Now, in an inquiry-based learning, there's a fine balance, right, between challenge and frustration. We don't want our students to walk away completely frustrated and demotivated from a lesson, but we do want them to experience productive struggle and some grappling with new ideas, or what Vygotsky calls the zone of proximal development. Next, let's choose engaging prompts and scenarios, and I would add provocations to really open up the inquiry so that it starts off open, but then within a lesson, maybe students still need some direct instruction to help them with their open inquiry. And then lastly, what does inquiry-based learning look like? It means breaking down, let's say, a big problem that we're looking at, whether it's in geography or whether it's in science, and breaking them down into specific sub-problems so that students can digest those sub-problems more easily. Okay, so there were my thoughts and ideas about the inquiry process continuum, and also trying to address that false dichotomy that it's not either or, it's not either direct instruction or open inquiry, but it depends where the student is in their learning journey, and it's the inquiry process is a continuum. And then also some ideas about what I think inquiry-based learning is. I would love to hear your ideas about inquiry-based learning and how you use the inquiry process continuum. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next time.